Leo had never seen a world like Vornis 6 before. The air was thick, and the sky stretched far beyond anything he had ever known. The moment he arrived, he felt a strange weight in his chest, a sinking feeling that told him this place was different from Earth. It wasn't just the alien structures, towering above him like jagged mountains of metal and stone. It was the silence, the kind of silence that made his heart race, as if something dangerous was lurking, waiting. At just 12 years old, Leo had been through more than most people twice his age. His mother had died when he was very young, and his father had raised him alone. The world they lived in was a harsh one, but Earth had always been home. Leo had been happy there. He had friends, a life that felt normal. That was until the day the Xelari came. The Xelari were a race of cold, calculating warlords known across the galaxy for their ruthless ambition. They had invaded Earth months ago, and Leo's father had tried everything to keep him safe. But the Xelari were far too powerful. Leo watched as they captured his father, but before they could take him too, Leo was whisked away by a team of underground resistance fighters. They had managed to hide Leo's existence from the Xelari, hoping he might one day be the key to their survival. They sent him far away to the distant planet of Vornis 6, hoping the Xelari wouldn't find him. But the Xelari were not so easily fooled. Now, as Leo was locked in a cold, dark cell beneath the palace of the Xelari Grand Warlord, he had no idea what would happen next. The alien warriors who guarded him were towering figures, covered in heavy armor that glinted in the dim light. Their eyes were cold, calculating. They did not speak much, and when they did, their language sounded like nothing Leo had ever heard before. But Leo wasn't afraid. He had seen his father face danger before with courage, and he knew that he, too, could survive. Leo's small, thin frame was nothing to these massive warriors. To them, he was nothing more than an insignificant child, a bargaining chip to be traded or discarded when they were done. They did not understand humanity's strength, the strength that could not be measured in size or strength alone. Leo was just a boy, but his very existence was a threat to the Xelari. They had no idea how close they were to making a mistake that would cost them everything. He spent his days staring out of the small, barred window of his cell. The view wasn't much, just the same cold, gray buildings stretching endlessly toward the horizon. The only other living things on the planet were the Xelari soldiers, who moved in perfect formation as they patrolled the streets. But Leo had noticed something strange. There was a certain pattern to their movements, a rhythm that didn't quite add up. He wasn't entirely alone. He had a pendant around his neck, one his father had given him just before he was taken. The pendant was a simple, unadorned piece of metal, but to Leo it was everything. It was a part of his father. It was his last connection to Earth. And as strange as it might seem, Leo was beginning to believe it was more than just a memory. He had a feeling it was something important, something that could change everything. The pendant had always been there, a quiet reminder of the life he had lost. But now, after days in the prison, it had started to pulse with a faint light. Leo had no idea why it was happening, but every time it flickered, he felt a sense of comfort. It was as if the pendant knew something, as if it was trying to tell him that help was coming. Maybe it was his imagination. Maybe the fear of being alone was playing tricks on him. But Leo wasn't one to ignore his instincts, and his instincts told him something was about to happen. Across the galaxy, no one knew where Leo was. Earth's defenders had been silent since the Xelari arrived. The planet had gone dark, its ships vanishing into the void of space. But what the Xelari didn't know was that Earth was far from defenseless. It had always been prepared for this day. The pendant Leo wore was a secret, one of many hidden by Earth's most trusted commanders. It had a signal encoded within it, one that only a select few knew how to decipher. That signal had just been sent. It was a call for help, but it was more than that. It was a signal to the most powerful fleet ever created by humankind. Earth's hidden armada was coming. But for now, Leo didn't know any of this. All he knew was that he was trapped, and his heart ached with the weight of all the things he couldn't control. He could only hope that his father's final gift, the pendant, would lead the way. On Vornis 6, the Xilari Dominion ruled with an iron fist. Their fortress palace loomed over the planet, casting a long shadow that stretched for miles. The Xilari warriors, towering and ruthless, kept the planet's inhabitants in check. Their empire was vast, their power unmatched, and they believed no one, not even Earth, could challenge them. They had conquered worlds, taken countless prisoners, and spread fear wherever they went. But they had underestimated one thing: the people of Earth. Leo had no idea that Earth was about to awaken. From his small prison cell, he could feel nothing but the quiet hum of the building around him. His guards, though imposing, didn't seem to notice the subtle change in the air. The presence of something vast, something unknowable, was coming. But the Xilari were too proud, too sure of their dominance to sense it. Far away, hidden deep within the vast reaches of space, a signal pulsed to life. It was faint, almost like a whisper in the void, but to the right ears, it was unmistakable. The pendant Leo wore, the one given to him by his father, had sent out a signal, one that was encrypted with ancient codes known only to a select few. The Earth's command fleet, kept secret for years, was waiting for this very moment. Hidden in a series of remote locations, Earth's greatest warships had been designed and built in silence, far from prying eyes. They were ships of unimaginable power, equipped with the most advanced technology humanity could dream of, waiting for the moment that they would be needed. That moment had come. The fleet was scattered across deep space, but now they began to converge. They had been waiting for the signal, knowing that the day would come when the Xilari would push too far. And now that the signal had been received, Earth's hidden armada was no longer a secret. In the dark of space, silent ships shifted into position, preparing for a battle that would change the galaxy forever. On Earth, the response was swift. The leaders of the Resistance, a secret organization that had formed after the Xilari's arrival, had kept close watch on Leo since he was sent to Vornis 6. They knew the risks. They knew the dangers. But they also knew that Leo was more than just a child. He was the key to Earth's future. The pendant he wore was no ordinary trinket. It was a beacon, a tool that would awaken the hidden fleet when the time was right. The Resistance had no illusions. The Xilari were powerful, but they were arrogant. They believed they were the masters of the galaxy, that nothing could stand in their way. But they had forgotten one thing. Humanity had a way of turning the tables, of finding strength when it was least expected. And it was that strength, that quiet determination, that had been building in secret for years. As the fleet made its way toward Vornis 6, Leo sat in his cell, unaware of the monumental change taking place in the stars. He had no way of knowing that help was on the way, that Earth's greatest ships were already racing toward him. All he could do was wait and hope. Back on Vornis 6, the Xilari still treated Leo as nothing more than a prisoner. They believed that the Resistance would never find him, that they could break him if they needed to. But they didn't understand humans. They didn't understand the spirit that burned within them, the refusal to stay down, no matter how heavy the odds seemed. The Xilari might have conquered many worlds, but they had never faced humanity's resilience. As the days passed, Leo began to notice small things. The guards seemed distracted, more on edge than usual. There was a certain tension in the air that he couldn't explain. The Xilari, for all their might, were no longer as confident as they once were. And Leo couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to happen. The pendant, the one that had once been just a keepsake from his father, now felt alive in his hand. It pulsed with a warmth that spread through his chest, and for the first time since his capture, Leo felt hope. In the darkness of space, the armada was closing in. The ships were massive, silent shadows that moved with a precision only humanity's finest minds could command. There were no wasted movements, no unnecessary chatter. The commanders knew the importance of this mission. Earth's future depended on it, and they would not fail. The fleet was led by the Indomitable, a flagship like no other. It was more than a ship. It was a symbol of humanity's strength, a reminder of what Earth had overcome and what it was about to do. The crew aboard the Indomitable had trained for years for this day, knowing that the fate of the galaxy rested on their shoulders. They had always believed Earth was not defenseless. Now they would show the HFY exactly what that meant. As Leo held the pendant in his hand, feeling the pulse of energy grow stronger, he could only wonder what was happening outside. He didn't know that Earth's hidden fleet was on its way, that the HFY were about to face the full force of humanity's resolve. But something told him the tide was about to turn. He just had to hold on a little longer. The HFY had always prided themselves on their perfect control, their ability to predict every movement of their enemies. They believed themselves to be invincible, rulers of the galaxy. But as the days passed on Vornis 6, something shifted, a change in the air that they could not explain. The tension among the warriors grew. The fear that something might be coming, something they could not defeat, started to spread. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the galaxy, Leo could feel it. The pendant around his neck had been pulsing stronger each day. He didn't know why, but he could sense that something was happening. Every time the light flickered from the pendant, a strange warmth filled his chest. It was as if the pendant itself was alive, carrying a message, a promise of hope. Far away, in the vast darkness of space, Earth's armada approached, silent and swift. The fleet was massive, far larger than the HFY could have imagined. Hidden for years, the fleet had been built in secret, with technology that no one had seen before. The ships were designed for one purpose only, to protect Earth and reclaim it from the invaders. The flagship Indomitable led the way. It was a colossal vessel, its sleek body cutting through the stars like a blade. Inside, the crew worked with the precision of a well-oiled machine. They knew the stakes. The commanders had spent years planning for this moment, understanding that Earth's survival depended on them. Captain Elena Stone, leader of the Indomitable, stood at the helm, her eyes locked onto the view screen. She watched as the planet Vornis 6 grew larger on the display. The time for secrecy was over. It was time to strike. "Captain, the HFY fleet is still in orbit above Vornis 6, said Commander Harris, standing beside her. His voice was steady, but even he couldn't hide the excitement. "They don't seem to know we're coming. We're going to make sure they never forget us," Captain Stone replied, her voice calm, yet firm. She knew the HFY were fierce fighters, but they were also arrogant. They thought they could conquer anyone. They had no idea what they were about to face. The fleet moved into position, carefully, silently. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering. They were fast, silent, and deadly. The HFY would never see them coming. Back on Vornis 6, Leo had no idea what was happening. He was still locked in his cell, staring at the cold, unfeeling walls. The guards were more watchful than ever, but Leo could tell something was different. They were uneasy, looking over their shoulders as if expecting something to happen. The air itself seemed charged, as though the entire planet was holding its breath. The pendant around his neck pulsed again, stronger this time. Leo's fingers brushed against the smooth surface, and he could almost feel its warmth growing. He didn't understand why, but he had an instinctive sense that help was coming. His heart raced with a mix of fear and hope. He had to believe that his father's final gift was more than just a token. As the HFY warriors paced outside, Leo tried to remember his father's words from the last time they were together. "You are stronger than you think, Leo. Never forget that." He had always believed in him, even when the world seemed impossible. And now, Leo had to hold on to that belief. Far away, on Earth, the fleet was now just moments from striking. The commanders and crew of the Indomitable had no doubts. This would be the moment they would finally take back their planet. The HFY would learn that no matter how strong they were, They could never defeat the heart of humanity. The first wave of the fleet entered Vornis 6's atmosphere, moving swiftly toward the Xilari's flagship. The Xilari were still unaware of the human fleet's approach, too busy with their own patrols and planning. It was only when the ship's weapon systems powered up, lighting up the sky like 1,000 stars, that the Xilari realized their mistake. The battle was fierce. The Xilari ships were advanced, their weaponry devastating, but they were no match for Earth's fleet. The human ships were smaller, faster, and more agile. They moved with purpose, attacking with precision. Every shot, every maneuver was calculated. The Xilari's overwhelming firepower couldn't keep up with the humans' tactics. Captain Stone gave the order to deploy the main assault. Her voice was steady as she spoke, a calm that came from years of training. "Take them down. We will not leave until we've freed Leo." The battle raged above the planet as Earth's armada clashed with the Xilari forces. Explosions lit the sky, and the stars above seemed to burn brighter. Ships darted in and out of the chaos, dodging fire and returning it with deadly accuracy. The sound of weapons fire echoed through the void, each blast a reminder that Earth would not fall without a fight. Back on the surface of Vornis 6, Leo heard the rumble. It shook the ground beneath his feet, a deep, thunderous sound. It was different from anything he had ever felt. The Xilari soldiers outside his cell seemed startled, glancing nervously at each other. They couldn't understand what was happening, but Leo knew. Earth had come, and they were not leaving without him. The battle above Vornis 6 raged on, but Leo had no way of knowing the scope of what was happening. The rumble beneath his feet had stopped, but the tension in the air was thick. His mind raced with the realization that something was changing. The Xilari soldiers outside his cell were no longer as confident as before. Their movements were jerky, uncertain. They whispered to each other in their native language, a language Leo had never fully understood, but one he had begun to recognize in his months of captivity. Inside the Indomitable, Captain Stone stood on the command deck, her gaze fixed on the vast screen before her. The battle above Vornis 6 was going better than she had anticipated. The Xilari, though powerful, were clearly unprepared for the sheer efficiency of Earth's fleet. The element of surprise was working in their favor, but she knew this was just the beginning. The Xilari would not go down without a fight. They would call in reinforcements. They always did. "Report," she said, her voice calm, but with an edge of urgency. Commander Harris quickly responded. "The Xilari flagship is damaged, but they're reinforcing their defenses. We have to push harder if we want to break through." Stone nodded. "No retreat. We end this today. If we can disable their command ship, we can take control of the situation. Prepare the next wave." Meanwhile, on the surface of Vornis 6, Leo sat in his cell, trying to piece together what he could. The sound of explosions echoed faintly through the walls of his prison, but he didn't know whether they were from the battle in the sky or something else. His only connection to the outside world was the pendant, still warm against his chest. But that warmth wasn't just physical. It was a comfort, a sign that someone was out there, someone who hadn't forgotten him. As he sat there, lost in his thoughts, the sound of footsteps drew nearer. His heart skipped a beat. He stood up quickly, pressing his back against the cold wall. The door to his cell opened, and two Xilari guards stepped inside. They were tall, with scales that shimmered like polished metal. Their eyes glowed with an eerie light, but today their usual arrogance was replaced with something else: concern. "Get up," one of them ordered, his voice harsh. Leo did as he was told, trying to keep his nerves in check. "What's happening?" he asked, his voice quiet but steady. The guard didn't answer. Instead, he motioned for Leo to follow. They walked down a narrow corridor, and Leo noticed that the usual guards were gone. The halls were empty, the atmosphere eerily silent. The further they walked, the more Leo sensed that something was off. The Xilari soldiers were clearly on edge. Their usual confidence was gone, replaced by tension. Whatever was happening in space was clearly affecting them. They finally stopped in front of a large door. The guards unlocked it and pushed Leo inside. The room was dark, but in the center there was a large display screen. It flickered to life, showing images of the battle above. Leo's eyes widened as he saw the Earth ships. There were so many of them. The auxiliary forces were struggling to hold their ground. "What is this?" Leo whispered to himself, not expecting an answer. But then something unexpected happened. The door to the room slid shut behind him, and the guards who had escorted him here were gone. Leo stood alone in the room, staring at the screen. His mind raced. Could this be the help he had been hoping for? Was this the moment his father had prepared him for? Suddenly, a voice echoed in his earpiece, one he hadn't heard in months. It was faint, but unmistakable. "Leo, can you hear me?" Leo's heart jumped in his chest. He recognized the voice immediately. It was his father's. "Dad?" Leo's voice trembled, a mix of disbelief and hope. "Yes, Leo. I've been watching over you. I'm sorry for everything you've gone through. But you're not alone. Help is on the way." The words felt like a weight being lifted from his shoulders. It was as though a heavy curtain had been drawn back, revealing a truth he had not dared to believe. His father had always known something would happen. He had always believed that Earth would come for him. And now, it was happening. Leo stood there in awe, his thoughts racing. The truth of it all began to sink in. Earth's fleet, the one that had been hidden for so long, was now fighting above. And the pendant, the one his father had given him, had been the key all along. It wasn't just a family heirloom. It was a signal, a beacon that had called Earth's armada into action. As he stood there, listening to his father's voice, Leo realized something else. The auxiliary, for all their power, were not invincible. They were not the unstoppable force they had believed themselves to be. Earth had hidden its strength for years, waiting for the right moment. And now, the time had come. The voice in his ear continued. "Leo, there's more you need to know. You are not just the son of a leader. You're part of something much bigger. The fleet is coming for you. We will bring you home." Leo nodded, tears welling in his eyes. He had always wondered if he was strong enough to survive, to make it out of this place. Now he knew. Earth had come for him, and they weren't leaving without him. The battle in space had reached its peak. Above the surface of Vornis 6, Earth's fleet had managed to tear through the auxiliary defenses, but the fight was far from over. The auxiliary flagship, heavily damaged but still operational, loomed in the sky like a wounded beast. Its hull was scared, but it still had the power to fight back. The Earth fleet had struck hard, but now the auxiliary were pulling out all their stops. The final confrontation was inevitable. Captain Elena Stone stood at the helm of the Indomitable, her face hard with determination. She had seen the power of the auxiliary up close. Their ships were capable of immense destruction, but she knew Earth's fleet was more than a match for them. It was the strategy that mattered, and Earth's fleet had the best commanders, the best pilots, and the best technology. They weren't going to lose, not today. "Prepare for the final assault," Stone ordered. Her voice was steady, but there was a fire in her eyes. "We take that flagship down now, no matter what." Around her, the crew of the Indomitable moved swiftly, following their orders with precision. They had been waiting for this moment for years. The auxiliary had been a threat for far too long, and now it was time to end it. Meanwhile, deep within the heart of the auxiliary fleet, Leo was still in the control room, trying to make sense of everything. His father's voice still echoed in his mind. "You're part of something much bigger." Leo had always known his father was involved in something important, but he had never fully understood the scope of it until now. The fleet that was coming to save him, the hidden strength of Earth, was more than just a rescue mission. It was a turning point, a moment that could change everything. Leo's fingers tightened around the pendant hanging from his neck. He felt the warmth pulsing again, as if it was guiding him. He didn't know how, but he knew that it had to be connected to Earth's fleet. The pendant was more than just a symbol, it was a key. As the battle raged on above, Leo was still locked in the control room, trying to keep calm. He had always been told that he was special, that he had a part to play in something far larger than himself. Now, standing alone in the heart of the HFY stronghold, he began to understand. This moment, this battle, was his chance to prove it. He glanced at the screen showing the Earth fleet, and something inside him stirred. He wasn't just watching the battle. He was part of it. Without fully understanding why, Leo felt a deep connection to the ships above. It was as if their success was tied to his own. The pendant, the fleet, his father, it was all linked. The auxiliary captain, Jacquard, watched the battle from his command chair, his face twisted in frustration. Earth's ships were relentless. They seemed to have an endless supply of energy, an unyielding will. The auxiliary were powerful, yes, but they had never faced anything like this before. Jacquard knew that if Earth's forces continued to push, they would win. "Commander, we cannot let them break through," Jacquard barked. "Initiate the final defense protocol. We will not let Earth take Fornis 6. But Jacquard's orders came too late. As he watched the view screen, he saw a new wave of ships break through the auxiliary defenses. The Earth fleet had arrived in full force, and they were more than ready. The auxiliary had underestimated their enemies, and now they were paying the price. Back on the surface, the ground beneath Leo's feet trembled once more. It wasn't an earthquake. It wasn't the aftermath of the battle. This was something different, something important. Leo's pulse quickened. His instincts told him that this was it. The moment had arrived. Suddenly, the door to the control room opened. 2 auxiliary guards stepped in, their weapons raised. They had come for Leo, just as they had come for him so many times before. But this time, things were different. Before Leo could react, a voice came through his earpiece. "Leo, we're coming for you. Stay calm." It was his father's voice again. But this time, it was accompanied by another sound. The sound of Earth's fleet, now just moments away from victory. Leo's heart raced. The auxiliary soldiers were closing in, but Leo wasn't afraid. He could feel the power of the pendant once again, growing stronger. It was guiding him, pushing him forward. He reached out, grabbing the nearest control panel. He didn't know how, but he understood the technology now. The pendant had connected him to it all. With a sharp press of a button, Leo activated a hidden control panel inside the room. The walls began to shift, and a section of the room opened up. For the first time, Leo saw the secret underground tunnel that led to the surface. "Go now," his father's voice urged. "The fleet is here. We need you, Leo." Leo took a deep breath, his determination growing. The auxiliary might have thought they were invincible, but they had underestimated Earth, and they had underestimated him. With the pendant glowing brightly around his neck, Leo stepped into the tunnel. The door closed behind him, sealing his escape. Above, the final push had begun. Earth's fleet was about to strike the decisive blow, and with Leo's escape, victory seemed all but certain. Earth's hidden armada had come for him, and they would not leave without him. Leo ran through the dark, narrow tunnel beneath the auxiliary stronghold. His heart pounded as he moved quickly, the sound of his footsteps echoing off the stone walls. The pendant around his neck glowed softly, a steady light that seemed to guide him through the maze of passages. The walls felt alive, as if they were reacting to him, pulsing with energy. Leo had no time to think about it. He had to keep moving. He had heard his father's voice, clear and calm, telling him to trust in the pendant. But Leo wasn't sure what to trust anymore. All he knew was that the auxiliary had captured him, kept him hidden away for years, and now they were preparing to destroy Earth. Leo couldn't let that happen. Not when he had the power to stop it. The tunnel ended at a large metal door, old and worn but sturdy. Leo didn't hesitate. He reached out with trembling hands, placing them against the cold surface of the door. The pendant flared with light, and Leo felt an odd warmth spreading through him, as if it was telling him that this was the moment. With a deep breath, Leo pressed a hidden button on the door's control panel. The door opened slowly with a soft hiss, revealing a vast chamber filled with advanced technology, more than Leo had ever seen in his life. It looked like something straight out of a science fiction movie, with walls lined with alien machinery, large consoles flickering with strange symbols. "Leo, you've found it." His father's voice came through the earpiece again, steady but filled with pride. "That's the Exilari's hidden weapon. It's the key to everything." Leo's eyes widened as he looked around the chamber. The walls seemed to hum with power, and in the center of the room, there was a massive glowing device. It was like nothing he had ever seen before, a giant machine with pulsing lights and intricate circuits, all wrapped around a core that seemed to draw energy from the very air around it. "This is their weapon," Leo whispered to himself. It looked like something that could destroy entire planets. But what did it mean for Earth? "Leo, listen carefully," his father said. "This device is what they've been building to win the war. It can turn the tide in their favor, but it's not invincible. It's powered by a unique energy source, a type of energy that your pendant can interact with. If you destroy the core, you'll disable the weapon and stop them from destroying Earth." Leo felt the weight of his father's words. Destroying the core would be a huge task. He had no experience with something like this, no idea how to destroy a weapon so powerful. But there was no choice. Earth's survival depended on it. Without wasting any more time, Leo approached the massive device. He could feel the heat radiating from it, the energy pulsing through the chamber. His fingers brushed against the smooth surface, and the pendant around his neck glowed brighter, its light pulsing in time with the machine's hum. Suddenly, there was a loud noise behind him. Leo spun around, his heart racing. A group of Exilari soldiers had entered the room, their weapons raised. They had been tracking him, and now they had him cornered. Leo's mind raced. The soldiers were closing in fast, but the pendant, it was still glowing. A surge of power shot through him, and Leo felt an overwhelming urge to act. Without thinking, he reached out toward the glowing machine. The pendant flared with brilliant light, and suddenly, the entire room was filled with energy. The soldiers faltered, stepping back in confusion, their weapons falling from their hands as the ground beneath them began to shake. The Exilari were startled, unsure of what was happening. They had no idea that Leo was the key to everything, the human child who held the power to change the course of the war. Leo's hands hovered over the core of the weapon. He could feel its energy coursing through him, trying to push him back, but the pendant around his neck fought against it. The more he focused, the more he felt connected to it. His thoughts became clearer, and for the first time, he felt like he understood everything. The pendant was more than just a symbol. It was a link to the weapon, a link that only he could use. With a deep breath, Leo pushed forward, his hands touching the core of the weapon. The energy surged, and for a moment, everything seemed to freeze. The room was bathed in bright light, and the Exilari soldiers gasped, stepping back in fear. They didn't know what Leo was doing, but they could feel the power coming from him. Then, with a sudden burst, Leo released all the energy he had gathered. The core of the weapon cracked, and the machine began to sputter and spark. The walls shook, and the soldiers scrambled to escape as the entire room began to fall apart. Leo stepped back, his chest heaving as he looked at the damage he had caused. The weapon was disabled. The Exilari's hidden weapon was no longer a threat to Earth. "Leo, you did it," his father's voice echoed through the earpiece. "Now get out of there. The Earth fleet is coming for you." Leo nodded, breathing heavily as he turned to leave the chamber. He had done it. The weapon was destroyed, and Earth was safe. For now. But the war wasn't over yet. There was still a fight to be won, and Leo knew he would play a part in it. As he ran back through the tunnels, the sounds of battle continued above. The Earth fleet was pushing forward, and Leo was ready to join them. The Xilari had underestimated him, but now they would learn just how powerful humanity could be. The battle raged on above, the sky lit with flashes of light as the Earth fleet clashed with the Xilari warships. Leo stood on the edge of the command center, looking out at the chaos below. The world he knew was forever changed. It was no longer a peaceful place, and he had a role to play in the survival of Earth. His heart still raced from the events inside the Xilari stronghold. He had destroyed their weapon, but that was only one battle. The war was far from over. The Xilari forces had regrouped, and they were preparing for a final push to crush humanity's resistance. They underestimated the power of Earth, and they underestimated him. Leo had proven that Earth's hidden strength was something that Xilari could never predict. "You did well, Leo," a voice broke through his thoughts. He turned to see his father standing beside him. "The weapon is down, but the Xilari are more dangerous than we thought. They won't back down easily." Leo nodded, feeling the weight of his father's words. He had seen the destruction that Xilari had caused. Entire cities were burned to the ground, and millions of lives had been lost. Earth had lost so much, but it had also gained something, their fight, and Leo was at the center of it. "We can't stop now," Leo said, his voice steady. "We have to keep fighting. We have to win." His father smiled, a rare moment of pride in his eyes. "We will. Together, we will. And you've already proven that Earth's strength is more than just machines or weapons. It's in us. It's in our people, in you." Leo felt a surge of confidence at his father's words. He wasn't just a child anymore. He was part of something bigger. He had helped bring Earth's hidden fleet into the fight, and now it was time to finish what had been started. The Xilari were strong, but Earth had something they could never take: humanity's will to survive. In the distance, Leo could see the Earth fleet engaging the last of the Xilari ships. The Xilari might have advanced technology, but Earth had something they lacked: unity. Humans had come together in a way the Xilari could never imagine. They fought for their homes, their families, and their future. "I'm ready," Leo said, clenching his fists. "Let's end this." His father nodded and placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's time. The Earth fleet is ready for the final strike. But we need you, Leo. The pendant, the energy within you, is the key to our victory." Leo felt the pendant around his neck hum with power. He could feel it, the energy flowing through him, connecting him to something greater. He didn't fully understand it yet, but he knew one thing: it was his destiny to lead. He wasn't just a child anymore. He was Earth's champion, and it was time to take the fight to the enemy. The two of them made their way to the command ship, where the fleet was preparing for the final battle. The bridge was filled with officers and commanders, all working together to coordinate the last phase of their counterattack. The Xilari fleet had been weakened, but they were still formidable. The battle for Earth's survival would come down to this. "Captain Leo," a commander saluted as they entered. "We're ready to engage, sir, but we need the final launch code for the Earth's secret armada. It's the only way we can break the Xilari's stronghold for good." Leo stepped forward, his heart beating faster. The hidden fleet, Earth's secret armada, had been kept hidden for decades. The Xilari had no idea it existed, and now it was humanity's final hope. He reached out and placed his hand on the control panel. "This is it," Leo said. "I'm activating the final code. Earth's fleet will take them down." He input the coordinates, and within moments, a massive fleet of ships appeared on the radar, an armada that had been hidden from the Xilari for centuries, lying in wait for this very moment. The ships were powerful, built with technology that was far beyond the Xilari's understanding. The Xilari fleet, already shaken from previous battles, now faced the full might of Earth's hidden forces. The tides of war were shifting. With a single command, Leo launched the final offensive. The Armada charged, lasers and missiles lighting up the sky as the Earth fleet took on the auxiliary forces with unmatched power and precision. Leo stood at the command station, watching as the battle unfolded. His heart raced, but there was a calmness within him. He knew what was at stake, and he knew that humanity had won. The auxiliary could not withstand the combined strength of Earth's fleet. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. "Father," Leo said, his voice filled with determination, "we've done it. This is our victory." His father smiled. "We've done it, Leo. You've done it." As the final auxiliary ship was destroyed, the battlefield fell silent. The Earth fleet had won, and humanity had shown its strength. The war was over. The auxiliary had been defeated, and Earth was safe. But as Leo looked out at the stars, he knew this was only the beginning. Earth had proven itself to the galaxy, and humanity's place in the universe had been secured. The hidden Armada was just the start. Earth's story had only begun. "Thank you," Leo whispered, looking up at the stars. He had done it. Earth had done it. And now, the future was in their hands.